This is Center Stage, putting your firm in the spotlight by highlighting business owners and other industry experts to help take your firm to the next level. Hey everyone, and welcome to Center Stage. I'm your host, John Henson, and this week we are talking about referrals and how to build a really strong foundation in referrals that will help you maximize what you're getting. I've shared this statistic a ton on this podcast and other content that I've produced for Spotlight Branding, but it's a good reminder. And it's that 80% of your audience, current clients, past clients, strategic partners, all of that, they're willing to refer business to you, but only about 30% actually end up doing so. And so to help us talk about some things that we can do to close that referral gap and help us try to maximize the referrals that we're getting, I am joined by referral coach and expert, Maile Collmer. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, John. Great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So before we jump in, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you become a master referral coach?
I became a master referral coach because I needed to know this for my business. So I started in sales right out of college in residential real estate sales. So as a realtor was my first career, did that for 15 years. And when I first got into the business, I was straight out of college and I learned all those really awesome techniques of cold calling and door knocking, which is so much fun. But they're great skills to have. It was a great training ground. And of course, they also tell you, you should call all your people, all your friends, and let them know that you're in business. So I'm calling all my friends who were either still in college or just out of college and saying, hey, you want to buy or sell a house? And they pretty much laughed at me because prices of home here in the San Francisco Bay Area is not super affordable for someone with just, college, just out of college. So someone told me you should go network. I'm like, okay, because I needed to build my sphere of influence in the business world. So I walked into a very crowded, very busy Chamber of Commerce mixer. And I had butterflies in my stomach. Now, I am not a natural networker. Growing up, I was super shy and introverted. And when I was a kid, we actually moved from Hawaii to California. And I'll always remember having to start in that new school and all those butterflies and knots in my stomach, feeling so unsure of myself, feeling alone, like an outsider. And, just not sure how I would connect. And kids in California were definitely different than kids in Hawaii. It was a different climate for sure. And so one of the ways that I grew out of my shyness was by joining groups and teams. And I got really involved in competitive dance. And when I was in college, I was in a performing arts group and we toured all over the US, Canada, even did a European tour one year. And I performed in front of tens of thousands of people, shy little me. And what I learned is when I teamed up with other people who had similar goals and similar values and similar work ethic, I could go further than I ever imagined on my own. So when I walked into that Chamber of Commerce mixer, those first moments of butterflies, I was like, wait, I thought I grew out of this. And I just started meeting people and I had this aha. I said, I can grow my business team and grow my business by creating a business team like I had my dance team and my debate team and all the team activities I did previously. I could create a team approach in business. So I decided to learn everything I could about networking and referrals and relationship building. I'd studied DISC and all kinds of things. So I could do this strategy for me and my business because I saw these other business owners and I went, we can help each other. We can connect people. We can endorse each other. We can support each other. We can help each other with opportunities and just create that collaboration, that team, so we don't have to be so alone in our businesses, and we can, I believe together we can accomplish so much more than we can alone. So
Yeah.
the referral systems I teach are what took me to the top 5% of realtors here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
long and the short of it.
No,
So
it's great. And so, I'm glad that you kind of led with networking because, especially us here, I strongly believe that, the foundation and the success of your marketing starts with the network that you build. And
Mhm.
so, like you said, whether you're going to chambers of commerce or you're in a BNI group or even, bar associations or CPA societies, whatever it is, they all have networking events and functions that give you an opportunity to meet people. So whether someone is, like you or even me, because I am extremely introverted as well, or
Mhm.
someone where conversation meeting people comes natural, how should a business owner approach those networking events and meeting new people?
Well, I like to have a strategy. So having a
Yeah.
strategy is key. And what we're really looking to do is to build relationship. And one of the things we want to have is the mindset of the long game. So I
Yes.
think people get confused about networking, and they think that it's a direct prospecting event. They're like, oh, I want business. I'm going to go to this networking event. I've been told if I go to networking, I can get business. So they think that it's to get business right away, but it's not. It's about developing relationships, and it's really about the referrals that you can receive from the relationships that you build. So
Yeah.
one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when they walk into that networking group is to think, I'm going to get business today.
Mm.
Or they even just think, oh, there's only 8 people here. I only have 8 chances. The
Mm.
real magic is that each one of those people represents a whole sphere of people, right? So they have their clients, they have their sphere of influence, they have all the people that they know. So really, the magic is there is an exponential value to the relationships that we build. It's having the mindset that it's the long game, we're building relationship, and we're going to work through the room and not sell to the room,
Yeah.
right? So we're going to work through the room, and we're going to build a relationship for long term. And then understanding, who are the people that you want to meet and build strategic reciprocal referral relationships with.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of have a similar philosophy, at least like when I'm speaking, like I would almost rather talk to a room full of 10 people who I know are there, they're super interested, they're engaged, than a passive room of 1,000 people who are just kind of there. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all about, kind of the purpose and everything in there. But when it comes to networking, I think one thing that I think a lot of people try to do is they just go in and they try to get as many business cards as possible. Right.
Right.
And I guess what's kind of your advice there in terms of like someone's coming in, maybe they're like trying to swap business cards, they're trying to start a conversation. What do you kind of tell people when they're getting into a conversation and they may know pretty early on that there's not going to be much chance for any kind of fruitful relationship to come out of that for any kind of reason? Is there
Mhm.
still some kind of value you can extract out of that? Is there anything you can do, or how do you navigate those sorts of things to then be able to go and find other potential better matches?
Right. So it may not be a match for you, but it might
Hmm.
be a match for someone else in your network.
Mm.
So we can decide not to invest a lot of time for ourselves, but we can hold that information as a resource for our network, right? The
Yeah.
value we bring to our network is our network.
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to have a wide network and we want to have a deep network, meaning that we need to have great relationships. And the more trust that we've established in those relationships, the more opportunity there is to be able to give and to receive. So we want to hold that information. And when you network, it becomes a smaller world,
Yeah.
right? And you're going to see people over and over again if you're consistently networking, which is a key to success, right? Is consistency, right? If we want consistent results, we need to do consistent, success actions,
Yeah.
like being consistent in building our relationships. So we want to be generous and kind, right? But we don't have to invest a lot of time ourselves, but we can hold that information and see if we can help somebody else with that at a later time and continue networking to find the people that we really want to connect with.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, last question I have about networking, then we'll kind of get into referral asks and other things like that. A lot of our audience, like I said, in the legal industry, I know specifically people in the legal industry, very, very focused on tangible ROI, something that can be specifically measured. I know that, especially in our world, there are a lot of vanity numbers and sort of a lot of intangible ROI and stuff like that. So how do you measure the success of networking? Like, how do you know that a networking, maybe an organization or even just your strategy is producing good results?
Ah, So one of the things that I use with my clients in my what I call my certified networkers is we actually have a networking scorecard. And this is what it looks like, a little networking
Okay.
scorecard. And what these are giving activities and relationship building activities. And when we do these activities on a consistent basis, we will get consistent results. So it's a way of tracking those proactive activities. And then the key is to be focusing a majority of your points on key relationships. So one of the things I work with my clients on is developing their top 12 list. So it's a top 12 of strategic referral relationships that they are building. Okay. Most businesses only need 4 to 8 great referral partners to have all the referrals they desire. So this is where we're going to be more strategic, more effective. And this is how we, especially with attorneys, when you're trying to focus on billing hours, right? You want your networking and your marketing to be efficient and effective. So we can focus on that handful or up to, the 12 that we use a list of 12
Mhm.
and focus a majority of our activities there. And we're going to get consistent results with the right people. So
Yeah.
that's an easy way to track and make sure that we're getting it. And then what happens is that you start getting the referrals and
Yeah.
then you know that it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it's a long game,
Mhm.
and I think, and I've talked about this before, that can be, it almost feels a lot more difficult now because just the way our society is going, there's so much instant gratification in other areas of our lives. It's easier to kind of set that false expectation in marketing and networking and stuff like that. I mean, do you have any kind of ballpark timeline for when a networking relationship, a new relationship that was built through networking could start to see, or does it kind of vary from person to person?
Well, it does depend on the type of business that you have,
Mhm.
and how much trust is necessary, how much what type of investment,
Yeah.
personal information, all those kinds of things. So if you are in a high trust profession, then it's going to take a longer time. When you have a strategic approach to your referral marketing, um, you know, actually my clients, when I work with my clients, within 3 months, within the first 90 days, we triple and quadruple the amount of referrals they receive.
Wow.
Okay. And then we work on quality and consistency. Okay. So it can happen relatively quickly if you have the right relationships.
Yeah.
And really where you see the best results is year 2 and year 3,
Okay.
especially year 3.
Okay.
And that's when we can really have a substantial relationship. There is that level of trust that you have to earn. You have to learn each other's businesses to be able to speak well about each other.
Yeah.
And attorneys are smart people. They've done a
Mhm.
lot of work. They are willing to put in the effort up front to know what they need to know to be able to perform at a high level, right? So
Yeah.
they know that when you invest this time, you will get the reward. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think, your audience is perfect for this strategy. And I
Yeah.
think it's akin to compound interest, right? It's that hockey stick,
Yeah.
uh, graph where there's little result, little result, little result, and then all of a sudden it just skyrockets. And
Yeah.
that's usually year 2, year 3.
Yeah, no, and I love that you said that it's multiple years, because I think that's really enlightening for a lot of people. Again, going back to that point of, we're so used to things happening very quickly, and there's a lot of marketing companies out there that will say, "Oh, we can get you results in, a week or 2 weeks," and all that, and people kind of get programmed to that. But it's that building of the momentum that is very important, and like you said, you get that in place, you get the wheels turning, and then as time passes, you'll get to that, you
It
know,
gets
blade of the
easier.
hockey stick, and it skyrockets. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about actually, the actual process of receiving those referrals, right? Legal industry referrals, super, super important to, a firm's business. And we do a trends report every year. We ask, like, how law firms are receiving referrals and asking for referrals. A lot of them, a lot of them kind of just indicated that they hope they just did a good enough job and that they'll get remembered and the
Mhm.
referrals will just come freely. To me, I imagine you would agree that's probably not the best strategy to go about doing things. So what kinds of things, conversation strategies should firm owners be doing to get referrals? Is it a direct ask? Is there, like, some sort of like gifts? What sorts of things work really well?
Having a referral conversation.
Okay.
Okay. So in today's day and age, you're absolutely right. Like, doing a good job is a prerequisite for a
Mhm.
referral, but does not mean that they're going to take action on your behalf. So having an actual referral conversation and saying, I really appreciate knowing you. And, referrals are the lifeblood of my business. What do you need to know about me and my business to feel more comfortable and confident in referring me?
Yeah.
And that conversation is the best one to have. Um and and asking them that.
Yeah.
And then if it's a reciprocal referral relationship, if you're talking to another attorney that you past business with, or a financial advisor, or whoever you're building a reciprocal referral relationship, you also want to say, here's what I need to know. Can I ask you some questions about your business? Here's what I need to know to feel more comfortable and confident referring you. So
Yeah.
you want to have that reciprocal referral conversation.
Yeah. And it's really, really, really good. And I know for you, in the real estate industry, you have, what about when it comes to the clients that you work with, because obviously, you sell a home to someone, you absolutely want them to tell their friends and family and everyone they know to work with you as a realtor to help them buy or sell their next house. So same thing kind of goes for lawyers. When does that conversation happen with clients, and even with strategic partners as well? When does that happen? How often does it happen? Because I imagine it's not necessarily a one-off thing that you just try once and then hope that it happens later on.
Right. In my business and when I'm coaching my clients, yes, we can ask for client referrals, and you can spot those clients who are the social mavens, the ones that do have a bigger sphere, they're more promoter like inclined and things like that. Yes, we can focus on those and ask them and talk to them and take them to lunch and do all of those kinds of things. They've done studies, and the time when you want to ask for the referral from a client is when they say yes, right? So when you first sign that client, because that affirms their decision.
Okay.
Right. So that's the best time to ask, is right at the beginning, right when they say, yes, we're going to work together. And then, but part of the problem why they don't refer is because they're working with you and they want you to be working on their stuff and not on their friend's stuff. So the optimal time is also a time when they're hesitant to refer. It's kind of a strange thing. That's why a more strategic plan is to focus on those referral relationships. And of course, we want to be asking for referrals from our clients because they can send us great clients as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're still, especially like right as they sign on the dotted line and pay that retainer, asking then still plants that seed. Like, yeah, it's reasonable to expect that they're not going to refer immediately, but you're still planting that seed. And, whether you're reminding them along the way, or maybe you remind them again once the case is wrapped up, whatever it is, you've still kind of started building that expectation that I'm open to referrals. That's how my business runs. Would love to help, have you spread the word and all of that. So other than networking, and asking and stuff like that, what sorts of things can a business owner do to make it easier for, whether it's strategic partners, clients, whoever, to give them a referral?
Well, one of the things that I talk about in my intro workshop, which is Referral Success 101, and in my advanced workshops, like my coaching as certified networker, is the 5 steps of the referral process. So there's 5 steps of the referral process, and understanding those 5 steps gives you understanding of, when you're talking to that person, what do they need to know in order to refer you business. And what we want to do is we kind of want to spoon feed them information, right? We want to make it as easy as possible to refer you. So they need to know, the first step is trust, right? Is there enough trust established in this relationship to refer? Do they find you referable, right? And trustworthy. The second step is business knowledge. Do they know if they're even standing in the middle of a referral? Okay. So how do they identify that? What do people say? What do they listen for? How can they be proactive and start a conversation on your behalf? Can they speak about your business for 2 to 4 minutes? No problem. Okay. The third step is need. We want to assess the need. So what are some qualifying questions? Like, how do they determine, is this a good referral, and qualify that question? Qualify with questions and getting curious, right? Like, how long have you been dealing with this? And, have you talked to anyone about the situation? What happens if you, because usually, so referrals are pretty easy to find because referrals are problems and people have problems. Well, referrals are solutions to problems, I should say, right? People have problems. Referrals are the solution to those problems. So we want to actually qualify the need. Step 4 is offering the solution. How do we speak about, do we say, oh, here's you want to sell your house, here's a realtor, here's their card. Like, is that convincing? Or do you say, here's why I refer this realtor over all the other realtors in the universe, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because we want to differentiate, we want to show why, because especially, if you're an estate planning attorney, there's a million estate planning attorneys. Why this one? Why am I referring this person over all the other people you can go to?
Yeah.
And then step 5 is, how do they set the expectation for the appointment? Are they going to come to your office? Are you going to do a phone call? Is it a Zoom call? What information do you need to be prepared for? Because when someone is going to talk to a professional, they can have some fears around that. They can have some uncertainty. So if we set the expectations for the appointment, then they feel more comfortable going into that appointment. They're going to say yes. Okay. So those are the 5 steps. So we want to evaluate, what does this person know? What do they need to know? And give them a little bit of information, just bite size,
Yeah.
because, it, and it's bite size over time.
Right. So the last question I had for you, before we wrap up here, I talking about cost, like how much do you think, and it doesn't have to be an exact figure, but whether it's cost comparison to generating a bunch of new leads versus, trying to maximize referrals, or just how much of an investment a firm should put into their referral strategy. What kind of advice do you have there, insight there? Again, whether it's comparing referrals versus cold lead generation, or just an overall investment into referrals.
So referral marketing is the most cost-effective form of generating new business.
Mm.
I had one of my clients one time evaluate and took a look at his cost of client acquisition, right? What did it cost him to acquire new clients? And he had his different ways that he was doing business. And he determined that it was so large that now he's another business coach, and so he actually offered to his referral sources an $800 gift
Wow.
certificate for any referral, because it was that effective.
Yeah.
And this was, like, I don't know, a number of years ago, so I'm sure it's even more worth more even now,
Yeah.
right? Because marketing and lead generation is not only expensive, right? If you're going to do SEO or even print advertising, any of that
Yeah.
is very expensive, and you have to talk to a lot more people, right? And the numbers are getting more and more and more.
Yeah.
Whereas referrals, you talk to fewer and fewer and fewer. And when your referral sources are well trained, they get better and better and give you higher quality referrals. So
Yeah. I love that. Like, if you're listening, you can't see it, but like on the video, I'm over here trying not to laugh, because it's just, it's funny every time, I have someone on who, has similar philosophy. And like, you and I did not talk about this. We didn't plan this out, and I ask a question and I get the same sort of answers that I keep saying to our audience. And it's fun and it's reaffirming. And I, it just, yeah, for me personally, it's fun to hear that. And, just on the inside, I'm like, I told you so. I told you so. And so, no, I really do appreciate that. One final question for you, before we get out of here. If you had one final piece of advice for our listeners, what would it be?
I would say, if you've got that person that you want to receive more referrals, so you see there's a person who could be referring you business, and you think they could be referring you more business, that other business professional, I would focus on seeing what you could do to help them and give to them, and
Mhm.
practice speaking well of them and their business. So one of the keys to referral marketing is the law of reciprocity. When we give, we will receive. So there is an instinctual behavior that when someone does something good for us, we want to reciprocate in kind or even better. So if you're seeking referrals from a particular source, see what you could do to give to them, to help them, to lift them up and do more for them. And you will see how magical the giving works. And it feels good to give, and it feels good to help others. So it's going to lift you up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. So before we wrap up, let everyone know how they can get in touch with you and learn more about how you help businesses.
Absolutely. So my website is milecollmer.com, MaileCollmer.com. I'm the only one with my name, but I know it's a little challenging. And I do have a free gift. If you'd like to get a video tip in your inbox, you can go to 52referraltips.com, 52referraltips.com, and you'll get a free tip in your inbox every week.
Awesome. Yeah, I may even sign up for that right now. We could always use some more help in helping us and what we do. So love that. Love all the information that you provided. Even if at the very least it was just affirming for me, but I know it was good for our audience to hear and reaffirm the power of referrals for them as well. So that's going to do it for us this week. Please leave a rating and review if you have not done so, wherever you're consuming the show, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever. It is very helpful and we really do appreciate it. Other than that, that's it. Maile, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. To learn more, go to spotlightbranding.com/centerstage.